Brian brought to you the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales, and we are still here at the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference. It has been an amazing event. All my friends are here, all my enemies are here, and everybody in between. Another recent alumni of the show, Brett Puffanbarger. Welcome back, man.
Thanks, man.
It's great to do this in person. There was a computer screen between us last time.
Yeah, you were this big.
You were bigger for me. I had you on like a 36-inch TV.
Lucky.
Yeah. So how's things going, man? You're everywhere all the time now. You are much more active than me on LinkedIn. I only post my videos and go away. How are things going for you?
They're going great.
Yeah.
Man, like really, really great. I have a special place in my heart for Benzinga, and I'm gonna be that fanboy. I got to hang out with Bo Whitney for like 2 hours last night.
Very cool.
And like just mainline economics data on weed. And I'm riding high on that today.
That's beautiful, man. That's really cool. No, I have a very special place in my heart for Benzinga. We did, I think I said this earlier, like episodes number 4 through 7 of the podcast here in 2020. We did another 8 episodes last year, and 2 of them became some of the most watched episodes we've done. And now here they give us this beautiful spot this year. I think they're like, we want people to actually see Benzinga when they watch your show now, but they put us back here, and it's been incredible. So I have a very special place in my heart for this group.
The quality of people and connections and conversation. You can't bump into someone. You can't come up with something.
It's your LinkedIn page is coming to life here.
Yeah.
It's creepy though, because it's like, I know you actually shit we've never met, but you post a lot.
Yeah. Like I know what you look like in a circle.
That's awesome, man. So you're working with Green Check these days, a great organization. I've known Kevin. You're the famous comedian Kevin Hart, who is do arenas around the world, who is your boss. I've met him in 2019, I believe, actually.
Yeah, it's Green Check's really cool because we're solving a very real problem. Though my life is like a marketing guy gets interesting because I have to combat a myth, but it's not like the stigma myth we all do in cannabis. It's like I have to overcome a myth within that group that is already good at myth busting, so they don't get that it's a myth if they believe it. Like I hear it all the time. Getting a bank in weed is hard, and I'm like, dude, we have almost 130 of them. We could like, I can have you a bank account in 15 minutes if you have the paperwork ready. Like, it's not hard.
It's crazy because that stigma is out there that cannabis isn't banked. So I don't know. You probably know Tyler Berline from.
Are you familiar with? Yeah.
Yeah. So Tyler and I have been friends for a long time, and I always see him posting like, cannabis is being banked, because you always see like the safe banking thing, and it's like safe banking is not what you think it is. Cannabis is being banked. I think I might have even seen you jump on one of those posts and say like, yeah, we got 130.
Yeah, dude, it's like it's being banked. Like we have major institutions running even fee-free. Like even the myth of like it's really expensive if you can find it. It doesn't have to be.
So are you guys vetting and verifying the banks that are working with cannabis? What is Green Check in that equation?
Green Check is a fintech provider at its core. We hook up into your POS system.
Okay.
And we track you down to the dollar level on deposits. Basically everything about your environment. And we report that to the bank in their language, kind of like a translator service. So what we did before I existed at Green Check, we approached the banks. Let us make cannabis.
You know what's really awkward? Tyler's behind us right now.
Oh.
Like I talk about him and then he shows up.
That's happened like 3 times.
Yeah, I interrupted you.
So we approached the banks first, and we got to 100 and something. Now we're pushing 130. We can bank every cannabis business in the country using our software.
That's
right?
Really cool.
And of course, we want more financial institutions, but now we're turning on the faucet for cannabis companies. And then, the big exciting thing in our world is we realize that a bank account is kind of a bottleneck for a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Payments and payroll. And so what we've done is we've started putting out feelers for partners, and we've launched a marketplace. We've got, a couple dozen providers now in all of those kind of immediate after us categories. You can manage it all from one account. So you can go in, shop for them. They're all tailored to you based on the data we have. Here's who fits you. Here's your insurance provider. Here's your choices for payments. And you can basically build everything you need to run a cannabis operation on a website in, less time than it takes to smoke a joint.
Depends how big you roll it. That's awesome.
Yeah, right. Man. Maybe not a dog walker.
So that's really cool. I'd love to talk to you about that experience, because you and I kind of similar in our path as through the industry. It's just in the sense that we've built these personal brands of ours because we're passionate about the industry, and you can't always get into that you might be in a certain position and call it the civilian world, and you need that equivalent to break into the cannabis industry, and they're not always available, but you want to be part of it. You've been in it. This industry, the thing that sucks about this industry for the people that are working in it is like people are still trying to figure out where their space is in the industry. Some companies are not healthy. Some companies are straight up toxic. So you have people who have had multiple jobs. So the only way to really build trust and build your reputation and reliability is that personal brand. The cool thing is you have such a great personal brand that I imagine the Green Check kind of looked at it and said, well, A, you know your shit. And B, we kind of feel by bringing you on that it validates us because the industry trusts you.
So Green Check, I was laughing about this with our CMO the other day. We have an embarrassment of riches in people who can act as a spokesperson or a face or whatever you want to call it for the company.
Yeah.
For both cannabis and for the FI side. Like you've got me, you've got Peter Sue, who's equally everywhere. We've got Mika Brown now, who just took on the equity fund board up in Massachusetts, super involved in that world. Like, and then you've got on the bank side, we've got real bankers, real fintech people that have worked with real big names. It's kind of crazy. Like it's a little bit more than anybody could ever need, but we love it. Like it works. We have so many cool people. And yeah, of course, they were like, a weed guy, because they were smart with it, right? We've got enough banks. We've hit critical mass.
It's funny. It's always funny when I see a company that I know and I've met, and like I haven't really done business with them, so I couldn't tell you good, bad, or indifferent. But when I see a friend of mine whose personal brand I trust, go to that organization, I'm like, no, I fuck with you guys now. If fucks with you guys, I fuck with you guys now. So it's really cool to see that, because to me, it's like now I trust you, because this industry is so small that you find the people you trust, right? And once you find those people you trust, you can almost trust that if they align themselves with a brand or a company, like, okay, then it's like that mafia thing, friend of ours, friend of mine. Yeah. Like it's kind of almost how I look at it.
Intel inside model, right? Yeah. Nobody knows what Intel does, but if Intel's part of it, you're cool. That's what a personal brand can become in such a small, fast-paced, communal industry. Like, you're cool.
I give you credit, man, because you have the full-time job with Green Check, but the LinkedIn has not subsided. You're still out there. You're still doing your own thing. And it is captivating content every time. And it's so funny because every time I go, nope, I'm not going to, okay, I'm going to hit the expand button. Let's do it.
I got to do it.
Yep. Every time. I'm just like, I don't have the time. It could be a long one.
You know what? I got it down to a science now, right? It's 2 hours a day, but it's broken up.
Nice.
So it's about 30 minutes in the morning. Give a little notebook with like a set of 4 or 5 categories that I think are important. And when I think of shit, I write it down. And every morning I wake up and I'm like, let me consult my bucket of like what pot I want to stir, what point I want to make. And I'll write it real quick. 30 minutes over coffee in the joint, that time that you don't do anything anyways, you're kind of coming alive. It helps wake me up.
Yeah.
And then I just go back and check on it. Basically, Peter Sue will laugh at this. Every time I take a bathroom break, my like extra 5 minutes that it doesn't take to do that is spent making a comment, doing the thing. Like, and my thing is, and this is one of those ridiculous things to say until you say it and people are like, okay, that makes sense. I don't think my posts are the valuable part. I think the comments and the arguments and the discussions and the nuanced expert on expert happenings, that's way more valuable. Like,
yeah, I would probably agree with that. I will tell you, I do my best to stay out of that, mainly because that is a giant suck of my time if I get into the comments. But as I read the post and I love it, and then I start reading a couple comments and I'm just like, all right, I'm off focus now. But
I gotta go.
But that's a testament to your content because it's so engaging, right? Me, I'd rather I'll invite you on a podcast every couple of months and just ask you about it instead.
Right.
I have that ability.
It's true.
Yeah, man. So what are you thinking of the show? Like, what are your thoughts on the industry right now? Obviously, you guys are doing a lot to help people, making sure that people can bank, which is hugely important. But just the industry right now it's struggling, right? Capital inflows are extremely down. People are starting to tighten their belts. I worry what's at the end of this, right? Because we're at a point in time, like, listen, we've all hated on certain MSOs at any given point in time for one reason or another, for personal reasons, for popular reasons. But I think we almost need them more than ever, because what comes after the MSOs is almost more scary than that, right? If the MSOs fail, they'll be cheap assets. And let's be honest, they're mostly money people that the big corporations then lobby to be able to come into cannabis. And then you have pharmaceutical, tobacco, alcohol companies coming in, and then it's like now you're 3-4 degrees removed from the people that started this industry. So what are your thoughts on the future here?
So I think we're at an interesting inflection point as an industry. And I think a lot of what we're seeing right now is a reaction to overconfidence and hubris, if you want to call it that. So like cannabis is an essential business. A whole lot of people ran out and said, give me money, we're going to grow.
Yes.
What that essential business label actually meant was we're going to stay steady while other industries dip.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing. Like cannabis did not have an apocalypse, but it was now the Pied Piper has come home and people are knocking saying, you promised me growth. And they're like, well, but COVID and I didn't die. And that only plays so long
you
for
were
investors.
70 when you made that investment. We certainly thought you'd be dead by now.
Right. Like, they kind of play that game.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing that now. I think consolidation and the big boys coming is inevitable. My hope, and I'm going to be that super weird guy that says some weird shit and then backs it up. My hope is we look like the milk industry when it's all done. A network of disparate farms growing variable amounts of different qualities of a substance, moving to a large corporate processing facility where things are then manufactured, processed, packaged, and then distributed through a variety of retail networks, both big and small. Right? That's how milk works, right? Milk, cheese.
No clue how milk works.
Well, so like you have farms all over. They come into a co-op or some kind of agreement where they all supply one large corporate pasteurization plant. And then if you have 2 brands of milk on the shelf at your store, at your local, whatever, Harris Teeter.
Yeah.
They probably came from the same plant on the same truck, but they were sourced from 2 different farms. So it's a logistics problem, but doesn't that sound a lot like cannabis? Now cut in the cheese and butter and yogurt and all of the different form factors. We're not that different than them. I hope that is the inevitable place we end up where everybody has a place, right? You can be a mom and pop convenience store selling milk. You can be corporate grocery chain. You could be huge money players buying $100 million equipment in giant facilities. You could run a little tiny farm or a huge, mega agro business. They figured out how to make it work for everybody. I hope we can too.
That's an incredible analogy, and I certainly learned something today, man. It's funny because the biggest comparisons are always alcohol, pharmaceutical, maybe CPG. I've never heard it done that way, and it's super intriguing. You got my mind racing.
It's all of them, right? It is food and bev. We are a consumable, if you want to call it that. It is consumer packaged goods. It is agriculture. We're not making a new wheel. We act like we are as an industry. We're making a new wheel. We're not making a new wheel. We're taking pieces of 3 or 4 wheels and we're figuring out how they play together.
Yeah.
Milk isn't a perfect analogy, right? But
got weed.
It's pretty. I wish, man. Like I see those like I'm high right now campaigns. The one with the black and pink ads that were like, you're allowed to own a flamethrower in more states than you can smoke weed.
Yep.
Those were
seen those in New York.
Were amazing.
Yeah. You gotta love that as a marketing guy.
I do. I get so excited when I see. I'm like, who did that?
I remember seeing the flame. I forget where I was. I saw it I want to say it was in New York. I was seeing it pretty often. You can own a flamethrower, and there's a couple other ones like that where it's like you could own a gun and shoot it off in the middle of something else, and with a joint in your hand, and the only thing illegal in that scenario is the joint.
Right.
So those are good campaigns, man. Brett, it's always a pleasure to sit down with you. I hope you're having a great show.
I am. I love Benzinga. I'll say it again.
We'll do it again sometime.
Right on, man.